The Confessions of St. Augustine, a 21st century Confessions of St. Augustine on the gift of perseverance. Litmus test. Definition: a decisively indicative test. Example: if you can understand the second chapter, the book is yours. If not, then this book is probably not for you. Okay, so now you've read it. So at this point you're probably asking yourself, what's so hard about that? Like, maybe I'm missing all the hidden symbolism, like the three women are the three witches in the prologue of Macbeth, and the professor and the minister represent the intellectual versus the spiritual, and he's torn between the two as to which one's going to be his role model in a life filled with choices, and the women are a sign of the decreasing image of the American male, who will eventually be relegated to the Homer Simpsons of the world, and the ever-increasing power of the emasculating American woman is a portent of the eventual matriarchal domination in a world that is fast becoming inverted, and of course, we can go on forever asking questions that'll thrill the hearts of every English professor out there when it's obvious to anyone over the age of 19 he's just a stoned out of his mind kid who in 25 years will be getting the perfect payback from his own kid. See next post, post 14. I guess it all started a few weeks ago when I finally got up the nerve for all this stuff. Anyway, that's when my little sister caught me. And the worst part about that was just telling her. And that crying. That's what made it so difficult. She hardly ever cries. But she did keep me from leaving, inevitable as it was. Tears or not, been coming for years, long before I ever knew. Maybe even when I was 11 and my brother ran away, setting a precedent that was to be one of my mother's themes for a good part of my teenage years. Because if she weren't so strongly against it, I might never have realized. And ironically, she was always repeating that old moral about this mother who told her children not to stuff peas up their noses. So, naturally soon after, the mother discovers, that the peas were all missing. And anyway, when I came home for summer vacation a few weeks ago, I'd already made up my mind. It was just a question of how. You see, I'm sure they saw it coming, because when I looked for an excuse, they failed so miserably. I knew I couldn't pull that martyr routine. I was stuck with being an ingrate, oblivious to all matters of the heart, and most of all, my mother's most unselfish and repeated request to think of her. And anyway, I got a lot to tell you, so I'll try to make it brief. My little sister catches me sneaking out the back door like a thief in the night and asks me what I'm doing, and like I say, a mother's tears are one thing, but a little sister who never cries because she wants so desperately to live up to her big brother's expectations, and in between sobs keeps repeating the family motto to think of our mother, and you're trying to tell her, and she's in tears begging you not to, and I've betrayed my family, and my mother will never be the same, and after all their years of planning and saving and introducing me to all the right people, I go right ahead and stuff peas up my nose. Right, peas up the nose, and I kept right on doing it too, every opportunity. Like my parents' party the very next week. Completely stoned. Except they never know. He's acting a little strange, maybe, but they always manage to act a little stranger, don't they? After everybody's acknowledged, the weather's established, your height and all, stampeding into the living room, the bar, the dining room, vying for that monopolizing voice, rushing every which way, obsessed with meeting everyone of importance, and occasionally asking you about that height again, until eventually neither of you know or care what the hell the other one is talking about anyway. And yeah, well, anyway, until it breaks down into little small groups where they can really get down to talking drivel. And I know I'm not so bad myself, especially when I'm popping. But you should have heard them. Christ, the ears, a constant din that just builds and builds. Like 8:30, I got stuck with some Dr. Redwell, professor of something or other, who figures you've been waiting all week long just to listen to him. Okay. And besides, I was afraid if I talked, he'd get encouraged anyway. And if you look bored enough, they usually go away. It's when you show them the signs of life they latch on. So I did everything but go into a trance, and the next thing I know, he's nudging me 9 o'clock and asking me if I believe in the American dream. Yeah. And I tell him I have to go to the bathroom, but he says, "You're a college boy, and those other things can wait," and starts talking about my parents and how grand they all are, and stuff that he figures is really going to grab me, until 9:30, the American dream question again, and Christ, I really had it. Fix his ass, right? Tell him off, yeah. Hit him with all you got, the most offensive thing you can think of. But my mind drew a blank on that one, I'll tell you. I mean, what the hell's offensive anymore anyway? And I'm not always too good in the real life situation, to tell you the truth. In my daydreams, I'm great, but in real life, I usually end up with something so bad no one has any idea what I'm talking about. Like all of a sudden, I thought of religion. Yeah, religion. I mean, that's offensive, right? It really is. Those things we're not supposed to talk about unless we use them as swear words, yeah. Until the old bastard might even leave me in moral indignation. It made sense to me. Back then, anyway. But 10 o'clock, I hardly get the word out of my mouth, and he introduces me to some cadaverous-looking ministerial guy. Yeah, well, I'm working on what I can spring on a reverend like a shithead until, finally, This bunch of hotshot women move in and take over anyway, with a lot of questions, answers, babble, rave, drivel, blah blah this, babble that, except for little old Redwell, of course, still plugging away, but nothing doing. Easy picking, slam bang, an easy squelch. They just laugh at whatever he says, which makes him madder and them even happier because he doesn't understand. It's all a joke, of course, a party. And the Reverend not seeming to mind all this since they're raising these questions only a Reverend could ever agree to anyway. And when he wasn't agreeing or shaking his head, he's even humming. And little old Redwell's just getting madder and madder, and they're just full of laughs now. A party, ha! And he starts getting so bad he starts acting as though the realists use emasculation even. And yeah, his little old voice is even getting higher and higher too. Like maybe they really are succeeding until finally it even squeaks. So I start to take off, like I'll be right back. One of them looks at me, hey, where'd he come from? Who the hell is he anyway? Oh, Gus, how tall you've grown. Ladies, bellows the loudest. We haven't stopped long enough to listen to Gus, have we, Reverend White? Certainly could use a fine young man like Gussie at your church. Gussie's mother tells me, ladies, are you listening, ladies? He's just so interested in Indians because it's a terrible shame what our country's done to the Indians. Tisk. Shaking her head, trying to look mournful. Especially when you see those other people, pausing long enough to make the emphasis in breath, rioting, raping, protesting, and what's being done about the Indians. And oh, Gussie, why doesn't the president do something? Taking me by the hand and giving me a little tweak. Well, of course, you see, I'd love to help you all. Those poor Indians. But of course, you know I'm a sex fiend. No, God, no. I could never carry that one off. It'd take a supreme act. No, instead I blurt out that I have to go to the bathroom. Well, they all laugh like hell again and start in, Gussie, go dinkle. Oh, Gussie, this is a party. Like they got some private joke going, and parties are supposed to be nauseating. Oh, and Gussie, like she's got the punchline ready now, and what could be less nauseating than us and here it comes, our yaha wit. Peals of laughter, and what could be less nauseating to them and their yaha wit? And oh God, yes, but of course, for a starter, downing Ipecac. And oh shit! But if only I could have said that! I could have retired for life. But no, I tell him about the bathroom again, and how I hope to see him when I get out of it. Shit! And that did it, the laughing stock. I thought they were gonna dinkle all over the place while I flee to my bedroom in shame. Yes, just peals of laughter while all sorts of retorts come flooding to mine. Just flooding. Brilliant ones, too. Oh, just brilliant. Then back to going out west again. Yes, and seeing my brother. Yes. What? Ipecac. That's that syrup every 50s suburban mom used to keep, remember? In order to make us throw up more quickly, the very item we'd have thrown up anyway, because nothing was more nauseating than Ipecac. Of course, with the possible exception of the aforementioned, who truly inspired this totally useless, albeit drug-induced, realization. But I digress. To be continued. The Confessions of St. Augustine. Now available on Amazon.com.